Peace be unto everyone here. Again, my name is Collis. I'm a co-founder of the Peace in the Hood movement that started back in the early 90s. Actually came out of a coalition that many people here were maybe a part of at one time in your life called the Coalition for a Better Life. And the organization actually developed to deal with a lot of the issues that we're talking about today, which revolved and evolved out of the gang and the drug culture that became very prevalent in our communities in the early 90s. So during that time, I worked with the youth gang unit for about 10 years, and during that time I also became a national organizer for the National Council for Urban Peace and Justice, which was an organization that came together to help stop gang violence around the country. So I worked in that capacity for several years. I've also been fortunate to be married for 30 years. And I have 4 daughters, one which is an attorney who was a Yale graduate, University of Virginia Law School. And she clerked in Virginia for several years. So, we can be grassroots, but also we can be conscious, competent, and courageous in the work that we do. And I think that perception, many times, is the thing that we have to get around in our community, that you don't just have to be a cookie-cutter type of individual to do the work that's being done. So I thank God for being here today. We talked earlier about the criminalization of communities of color. And in Ohio, if everybody doesn't know, this has been one of the only states in America where people can be sent to prison for 3 months and 6 months with these small convictions, that end up in prison time. We also understand and know that, as we talked about earlier, over-prosecution of small drug-related cases has ended up with Ohio being the 4th largest incarcerator in the country. And this has disproportionately affected the black community in ways that we still don't even understand in terms of the social dynamics of African-American males being absent in the homes and the communities. The question I'd like to ask is, how do we visualize a holistic transformation of the prosecutor's office, where we're working more on restorative justice and prevention, and what kind of ways could community organizing leaders be integrated into a system within the prosecutor's office to make our communities more healthy as we relate to what we're looking at in terms of statistics of reentry, and also in the statistics that revolve around incarceration of men and boys of color. Thank you.
I'll answer that question for you. As a county prosecutor, I intend to give assistant prosecutors more leeway to handle their cases in nonviolent, felony 4s, and felony 5 cases, and that's typically your drug cases. I know when I started with the Cleveland Police Department, crack was making its headway into the neighborhoods, and we didn't really know how to deal with it. And so we had the disparity of crack cocaine and powder cocaine, and since, I guess, September 30th, that's now changed where they weigh it the same, instead of crack having a higher sentence than the powder cocaine. So in those instances, when I used to arrest people with just a crack pipe or a choy boy, I don't know if you guys all know the lingo, but it was just residue, that was a felony 5. That's when felony 5s first were enacted, I guess, sometime in the 90s. Well, now we're looking more at the person who's addicted to the drug versus the crack dealer or the drug dealer. And so with the nonviolent 4s and 5s, keep them as misdemeanors or have diversion programs where if you find somebody is addicted to crack cocaine and they have what you call residue on their person, instead of that person getting a felony 5, keep it in the local municipalities such as Cleveland or whatever neighboring suburb, instead of bringing it as a felony down to the prosecutor's office. And that's what I think happened in the 90s and the early 2000s, where we were taking just possession of crack cocaine and making it a felony 5, and then that person was getting a felony on their record, and because they were addicted, we would see that person back out on the street, because I've arrested those people over and over again because it was an addiction, and we weren't selling the actual addiction. We were arresting folks, giving them felonies, and then from then on it was a domino effect. So I intend to keep the nonviolent felony 4s and 5s at the discretion of the assistant prosecutor, and or depending on a case-by-case basis, keeping it in the municipality and having diversion programs where that person can complete the program and the cases can be dismissed. Thank you.
what you described there is a situation that you don't have to tell me it's a story about. As a judge of a Cleveland Municipal Court, every day when I walk out of the courtroom, I saw the problem. Your eyes open to the imbalance in terms of the racial makeup of people coming through the system. It's something that weighs heavily on you. And one of the things that I had committed myself to is to look at all the ways in which to ensure that justice is done in every case, and it's done fairly and equitably. And to that end, what I learned was that measures of success, when I'm county prosecutor, I do not want to be measured. I do not want to be measured by our conviction rate. I want to be measured by the extent to which we reduce crime in our community. That will show that I'm paying enough attention to the quality of cases that are coming through, that justice is being done, and we're doing all those things necessary to prevent cases from coming in the front door in the first place. And that is working with, with the same things that you had mentioned here. It's how do you divert cases out? How do you give people opportunity? The whole re-entry programs. The county prosecutor's office is a leadership role. I will take ownership of those things that are necessary to ensure that we are doing all we can, ultimately to reduce the crime rate. And part of it is going to be strict, vigorous enforcement of the law. But the other piece of this is ensuring that we're providing opportunities for people to avoid coming through the system in the first place. And to the issue on the low-level felonies, I was the mayor and I were the ones that tackled the issue of the crack pipe. Because I kept hearing, leading with your ears and hearing from people that this is, there's no reason why this has to be this way. And I heard all the excuses as to why it was. The county prosecutor's office said, well, that's not our issue. And so we accepted that. All right, and we're the ones. I was the one, with the mayor's guidance and support. We were the ones that said, no, we're going to stop this. It's time to stop treating people in the city of Cleveland differently than they're treated anywhere else in the county. We implemented that policy change. And you know what? The end result was all the reasons why people say it was a bad idea, it all just washed away. It all went away. There's a lesson to be learned there. It's a lesson that's not going to be forgotten. I'm not going to lose that lesson when I become